Overlords is probably one of the most incredible things we've been asked to do on this series. Not in way of effects necessarily, way of animation, visuals, but the story that George laid out for us was something that I think that we'd all, as Star Wars fans, as lovers of mythology, wanted to delve into for a very long time, which was a much more intensive look at the Force and Force wielders and how that's used, and this whole prophecy of the Chosen One, and what does that mean?
Are you the one?
The one what?
I was actually out of the room for the first, I think, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of George's pitch of these Force wielders, and I remember coming back in the room, and the writers were all just kind of wrapped up, like looking at George, and they saw me come in the room, and they looked at me and they're like, "You got to hear this." And George sat me down and he started explaining to you that these gods, and they wield the Force, they're much more powerful than any Jedi Knights. And this one turns into a gargoyle, and this one can turn into a griffin. He's just saying all this stuff. On your feet! And I was like, wow, this is pretty intense. So in the end, you know, Christian Taylor, who wrote it, had a tremendous task on his hands to try and figure out, how do I take all these things that George just explained and that we've outlined together, and you know, how is he going to put a voice to that? And to his credit, he did an amazing job.
Master Qui-Gon, how are you here?
I am here because you are here.
When we first talked about having Qui-Gon appear in this series, and George brought that up and said Obi-Wan's going to see an apparition of Qui-Gon Jinn, I thought, wow, you know, it would be just incredible to get Liam Neeson to come back and do the voice of Qui-Gon.
If he is the Chosen One, he will discover it here.
And if not?
And you must realize with his power, this is a very dangerous place for him to be.
And I thought the fans would just go nuts if we could get him back to do it. So I went to, you know, the one person in the galaxy that I know could make this happen, and I talked to Lynn Hale. Now, if you don't know who Lynn Hale is and you're a big fan of Star Wars, you need to do some research and work, because she is a tremendous force at the company. She has been here a very long time. Even more so, she was in contact with all the actors from the original movies. Lynn actually came up and watched the footage, and you know, it's just classic for her. She goes, "Oh my gosh, we have to get him to do this. Not only that, but we have to get Pernilla August to play Shmi."
And it is not love. It is a prison.
So, next thing I know, Lynn's on the phone with Pernilla and Liam, and she has Pernilla August coming back to reprise her role as Shmi Skywalker, which is amazing. And, you know, she sent the footage of Qui-Gon to Liam, and I don't know if that helped or not. I like to think it did. But he decided to come on board and do the show, and you know, I'm so grateful for that, because he really didn't have to do that, and I think it speaks to how much he really, you know, enjoyed working on Star Wars, and it was such a nice thing to do, and the whole time working with him, I mean, Matt Wood and I were just sitting there, you know, and he would say these lines, and he'd say the name Obi-Wan, and I mean, I will admit it. The fan inside me was just, I just kind of looked at Matt Wood and I was like, it's Qui-Gon talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi.